Okay. Hello.
Good morning. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow, the Dear Becky and Lizzie edition.
I didn't even have to say anything. I'm just gonna let Liz run the show today. I'm just kidding. Hi. How are y'all doing? I'm moving some stuff so maybe I can fit in here. It's good to see everybody. I was realizing the other day, Liz, that I put links for all of these when we publish them over on Facebook, but Instagram followers may or may not know that this exists because I never publish on Instagram about this because links don't work on Instagram. So I might see if in the future if I can do some screenshots or something. We'll see. Because other shops do Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Or Facebook Live, which we do once a month. But this is our vehicle. So ta-da! Anyway. Hi. I've been having fun playing with crochet. And I will probably save this till Monday to really talk about.
Tuesday.
That's our Monday. Yes, she's right. Tuesday.
Like, wait, what? Oh.
I have the magic rings want to keep coming loose because I haven't tied the ends in yet. So they keep opening up. But the joys of trying out a crochet granny square type thing with the wrong fiber. It behaves very differently.
Not the wrong fiber, just a different fiber from the pattern.
Sometimes correcting my language is important. Sometimes it's just annoying, but in this case, it's important. Yes, it's a different fiber than the pattern writer used, so I'm on a totally different hook. This is what I thought I should use. And this still isn't big enough, so just goes to show. And I'm a loose crocheter. Just goes to show. Test your gauge.
I'm wondering if your gauge is tightening up a bit. You've been doing a lot of crochet lately.
I'm holding, I don't know. It's possible. I shouldn't say no right off the bat. It's possible.
You have been doing a lot of crochet lately.
Just a little bit. But only lately. Like I took months off. Anyway. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the tired owner of Sun Dragon. I'm just looking at me going like coffee's not in yet. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art Fiber in overcast and probably gonna rain again today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there. And
you sound so happy about that.
Well, it's morning. It's a slight chance of rain this afternoon, but today we have the least amount of chance of rain.
Because when I looked earlier this week, it was like rain all week.
Well, see, weather changes in between the time you look at it on Monday and make plans and the actual.
I didn't know that, Liz. I mean, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. I will say the French Broad River was very high coming in this morning. So we've had a lot of cumulative rain over the past week or two.
Yeah.
So no rain today would probably be okay. It's also better for us. We're trying to hold outside events. So we don't, because this is the only time we don't wear masks in the shop is to film for y'all. So outside events, we feel more comfortable not requiring masks. So yeah, anyway. Less rain in the forecast means more gathering outside and fun things. Okay. So today is our Dear Becky and Lizzie edition where we at least start with, if there are questions, answering your questions about our experiences with things related to yarn.
Yes.
You can ask us other questions. We probably won't answer them. So.
And if you send a question to me and I don't respond, we're saving it for Dear Becky and Lizzie.
Yes.
Because it came to me.
Because yeah, if something comes to Liz's email, which is
liz@sundragonartandfiber.com,
that means we're going to answer it here.
If you're hoping that you could send it to me and get it answered faster than Rebecca answers emails, and she's really fast at answering emails, I don't check my email at work. I just don't. So I go home and I check my email, and if there's a question in there, it waits till Thursday.
You flag it for Thursday.
Yep.
Okay. So where would we like to start today?
We have two,
okay,
and I will start with them in order that they came in. So
I don't remember both of them, but that's okay.
the first one had to do with buttonholes.
With what?
Buttonholes.
Okay. Oh, I vaguely remember this now. Okay.
I send her a screenshot
and then I read it and go, okay, file it away, and then I
Yep.
forget about it.
Dear Becky and Lizzie, I made a cardigan and forgot to put in the buttonholes. I don't want to rip all that out. It was a man's cardigan and the ribbing on the button band was quite long. What can I do for buttonholes? I thought of crocheted loops, but I'm concerned they might keep catching on his shirt buttons. Seeking wisdom. I have a couple of ideas.
Okay, you go ahead.
One, I don't think that, depending on the weight of the yarn, I don't think a crocheted loop is going to catch on, because shirt buttons
On
sit
shirt buttons.
pretty flat.
Well, and it depends on the shirt buttons.
It does.
We're assuming pretty flat shirt buttons. I wouldn't think it would catch too much either. Especially, I mean, we also don't know what size buttons she's making buttonholes for.
True.
So, but I have, oh, I didn't bring it in today because I forgot. I have a cardigan at home. It's Kate Davies cardigan. I think it has crochet. It has like slim loops that like if you looked at my cardigan, you wouldn't see any buttonholes. I think they are applied either I-cord or crochet on the edge. I think if you don't have them stick out far, I think if you if you start up here and tack it down here so it looks flat, except when he goes to put the shirt on or to button it closed, I think that that I don't think it should catch very much. It's if you're going to start in the same spot and go out and come back to the same spot, so there's a noticeable loop that could get caught on stuff. So yes, I think the applied crochet stuff, if you start in one spot and do some chaining or some single crochet and then tack it down so it lays flat until you stick the button through it, I think that's a good idea.
They're in sewing, like the little loops for getting a little tiny button like at the top of your dress or whatever in the back, that you'll do several loops of thread and then do like friendship bracelet knots where it's all corded together. You could do that too. Crochet is going to be the fastest, but it might stretch out over time.
Like a couple of pieces of yarn and then do it.
So it might be easier to do the little wrapped knots to keep it more solid.
As she's describing this, she's looking at me like I know what she's talking about.
She doesn't know what I'm talking about.
No. I don't sew all that much. I still remember from my Girl Scout days, some tips and tricks they taught me on how to sew on a button. Like I learned that in Girl Scouts for sewing, and the rest of it I've basically fudged or looked up. So I don't sew a whole lot.
The other suggestion.
What is your other suggestion?
And I found it on my Norwegian sweaters that I've bought, like store-bought Norwegian sweaters. They don't put buttons in. They use the clasps. They sew the clasp right onto the button band and then catch it. So that you could go back or, I mean, it's different, but it would also.
I think it depends on if her husband would like that look.
It does.
So
it does, because
that is not necessarily defined as a guy's look.
It's true,
like stereotypically.
Yeah.
Right. But if he likes the idea of just being like, ka-chunk, and you could find ones that might look more masculine.
They have the little frog clasp type things that are more just like a figure eight or whatever with the little.
Oh, that little that way to like you put it in and it goes. And
sort of, but it's more like
I remember those from when I was a kid and I hated them.
No, not those. It's like a little ball knot on the end of one and a little loop on the end of the other, and you just it's a more like a toggle, but it's
those are options.
More muted.
By the way, toggles, things like that, clasps, we don't sell those in the shop, so you'd have to look those up online, and we're okay if we don't have it of you finding it somewhere else. We always a lot of things we're telling you all about. If you're in the US, we're hoping if it's something we sell that you might get it from us. But we also talk about a lot of things that we don't carry in the shop. So we can't carry everything. We've had people come up the past week or two requesting embroidery, macrame, vinyl transfers, or phoning. Paint pens, things that we're a sizable shop, but we don't have enough for all of that. So we're not as sizable as like Pearl's Art Supply or something like that for art supply stuff. We do what we can. My other thought, which is more work, if you don't want to rip out, you could pick up stitches along the edge and add a couple rows that add in the buttonholes on top of what you've already done. But honestly, at that point, I would just like rip back half of, to put buttonholes in ostensibly on a cardigan. If you unpick if you picked up stitches to do the border on the cardigan, you'd only be ripping back half of them to the spot where you want to put the buttonholes in and adding that. That's going to be as much work, I feel like, as picking up stitches and adding a few rows so you can add buttonholes, and it will look cleaner to rip it back. So I would try the methods that Liz is talking about with crocheting. That could even be running the whole edge with single crochet, but in the spots where you want the button, so single crochet down, and where you want the button, do some single crochets, like foundational single crochets or chain or something like that. Just chaining, you have to decide if it's going to be thick enough and hold enough and look good enough to have it come out, but don't reattach right where you left. Skip a few stitches along the edge and start going again, and skip a few stitches with some chains, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's the best we have. Or as Liz said, some clasps or toggles or something like that. So it's more found in women's sweaters and things like that, to use like shawl pins or other ways to hold it closed. Personally, I just don't close up my cardigans, but it's as a bustier female, it puckers in the front. So I just use it as an outer layer that's going to keep my arms warm, basically. So I hope that's helpful. What's our next question?
Our next question is on winders and swifts and winders. Hi, Liz. I'm thinking that it's time for me to buy a swift and winder. I don't have $200 to $300 to throw towards it, but I am willing to make an investment. What do you and Becky think is the best kind of swift and winder to buy with the current industry offerings? I'd love to hear your opinion on what is on the market. Thanks, Susan.
Okay, so first of all, what is on the market in general? We cannot speak to the entire market because we don't sell the entire market in our shop. And what I've tested and what I have is more likely to be what is here in the shop. So we can speak to what we have in the shop. We can speak of other names, but we can't vouch for them. Like I can start right off with on a lot of the Facebook groups and other things, when someone asks this question, so many people go, oh, Stanwood, you need a Stanwood winder, a Stanwood Swift. A lot of people really like that Swift and winder. We don't carry that in the shop, so I can't vouch for that as being more reliable, less reliable, equal to what we have in the shop. But know that that is an industry name that's out there, and depending on the product you buy and where you buy it from, you're going to spend anywhere from $30 or $40, especially if it's on sale, to $100 per item. I'm talking just about the winders right now. They also have Swifts, and those tend to be pricier. So I'm going to back up for a second though and say what a Swift and a winder is in general, because some people watching might go, I have no idea what you're talking about. Because when I started knitting, my sister did her research and got me for Christmas, she got me a Swift and a winder. And I looked at these and said, what the heck are these? And she said, well, I did all this research and this kind of fastener on the Swift is better than that one. And I was just, it was all Greek to me, because I'd only bought stuff that I'd only worked with stuff from like Michael's and Joann's, and that all came in a ball that you could just find the middle or the outside and start knitting. And a Swift and a winder. So the stuff that comes like this, I mean, you can use a winder for many, many things, but a Swift was really invented, and there are a few different styles for the stuff that comes like this in a twist, even the loose twist of what we are selling for Yarn of the Week. When you open this twist up, it becomes a big band of yarn. It's a band that's been twisted up and you fold it on itself and it goes bloop. And I'm trying to think of, hang on. So this is yarn that I'm going to use on this crochet project that I haven't wound yet. But since it's mine, I will show you. It's not one that's on display in the shop. So if I take this and I kick the little butt end out that's keeping it together and open it up, it looks like this. And we have the conversation with people who buy this kind of yarn in our shop. If we're not super busy, so we forget. And then we'll have the conversation before someone leaves the shop of, have you worked with it? Especially if they're a new knitter or crocheter. Have you worked with twists before? Do you know what to do with this? Because this now has a bunch of ties that are keeping it in this shape. So I don't have to twist it back up, and it will mostly stay in a big loop like this. And see, like here is one of the ties. This is fiber spates. So the fiber spates has a ton of ties. It's got like 5 at least to kind of try to keep the yarn organized and in this shape. Some balls like this Cascade one might only have 1. But if you decided to cut those ties and start knitting or crocheting off of this as is, especially if you just like left it on the table. See Liz's face? It's like, there's a really good chance it will become a tangled mess.
I've only seen one person knit or crochet off of a loop.
Mm-hmm.
And basically,
was it just on the table though or something?
No.
Okay.
She'd open the loop. She'd pull off 3 yards of yarn, twist the loop back up.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
You know, like,
which is great, but a lot of work.
Yeah. So every time she needed more yarn, she untwisted the loop.
I mean, even if you did something like I'm doing here, like leaving around my neck and cut all the ties and start trying to crochet and leave it there. First of all, you're stuck. You have a permanent necklace till you're done. Second of all, it still can get super tangled. And so what most people do is they ball it or they wind it up in some way to make this workable. And that can take a really long time, which is why the idea for a winder, but the Swift is something that holds the loop open and turns so that you can either handball or wind off of it. And there are a few different styles.
It also, like, if you have to stop winding, it keeps it open.
You could knit it off or crochet it off of the Swift if you're doing one project at a time. That kind of, it keeps it organized.
Well, if you were doing it with your knees and life happened and you had to get up, you're having to move the entire process.
I've seen people who put this on their knees and they actually like sit in a crunch position and wind off of it and are going like back and like they get a workout from it. I'm too lazy for that. So so these guys, there's 2 different styles that I know of that I am comfortable and familiar with to talk about of what's called a Swift. That's going to hold it and it's going to rotate so that you can easily start to wind off of it in some fashion. And the one we have in the shop, we have what's called an Amish Swift. I'll get to that in a second. What my sister got for me is what's called an umbrella Swift. And I may or may not open up the umbrella Swift depending on easy it is to open this guy. But if you take a look at the picture on this one for how that looks, it clamps on the table and it has these interlaced, it's like a pulley system kind of to hold tension and hold it open. And I'm looking at, I don't think this is taped shut. So I think I can, this one's by Knitter's Pride. We also have one by a company called Lacey's. There are a lot of different companies that make these. So, this guy, let's see. We're not in the right setup. Like we film, our camera is on our winding station. So, let me see. This is what might be a little more complicated to get open. But this one's kind of cool because it's got the handle at the top too.
Yeah.
One of the Knitter's Pride ones.
Yeah. It's somewhere.
I've had my umbrella Swift for over 20 years now. One of the issues with umbrella swifts is how well it holds up. Oh, that's there's a thing in there that came off. Let's see what that is for. Oh, that's an extra. This goes in there. So
to tighten the.
yes. Okay. So my sister, when she did her research, all this lattice work stuff. See how that does this? If these have little ties on them, if they come untied, you can thread things through the hole again. So it has a clamp down here. And I'm just trying to, the one I have, I don't know what the brand is anymore. I really don't know. But the idea is that you clamp it on the table. Let's see if we can find a spot on the table where it's going to work.
You're almost exactly at it.
And then you tighten this up. And then this piece wasn't attached because it wouldn't fit in the box if this was attached. This guy goes here. You can expand this in and out like that. And so what I do at home with my umbrella Swift, and this can be tightened and loosened. So what I do at home with my umbrella Swift, and sometimes when it falls, it doesn't keep tension. It's really annoying and I have to start all over, is I will drape it on like this. And we loosen this up. And if it's in all the way, it can be really hard to start this sometimes. But so I'll kind of settle it out just a hair. And I will slide up this bottom piece until it's pretty tight. And then I'll tighten it. That's the part that can wear out over time, is this little twisty guy holding it open can wear out over time. And then this falls while you're winding, and that's a hot mess. So once I clip all the ties off of this, sometimes you wanna arrange it so it's flat, so it's not twisted, because any tension in this will lead to a ball that's a little, like with a winder, which we'll get to in a second, that's a little bit irregular. But see how this one's really cool because it has a little hand crank up top, which is really fun if you want to take your yarn and put it into this format, right? That's really cool. My one at home doesn't have a little hand crank on top, but this is a Swift. So an umbrella Swift. And when you have a winder that is attached to it that you can crank, this will just turn on its own if everything's going smoothly. Mine at home like creaks and makes noise, and it's not, it's old. So it goes, and it at first it doesn't go smoothly, and then it kind of, when it picks up pace, it can go a little smoother. But you can also handball off of this. And it is going to go and go and go. And then when you're done, when there's no more yarn on it, you can collapse this down, take this guy off of it, and stick it in the corner. Take it off your table, stick it in the corner. So that is an umbrella Swift, and we'll put this guy away later. My new favorite is an Amish Swift. Oh, and by the way, in terms of price range for these, where do we get the price on this guy? This one's $72. I think the other one we have is in the $60 range. Like umbrella Swifts, in terms of expense, are gonna run in that range. If you have, like, they have metal ones that may not be as expensive. Sometimes those work better or worse. They have ones that tilt this way instead of coming out that way. I can only speak to the ones we have in the shop. This kind is decent. And the one I have at home, I've had to retie some of the ties on the edges here, but it's held up. The yarn shop I worked in before coming here, this one, we switched to an Amish Swift because this kept giving out. Like, we wound so much yarn. That's another thing. It's just like our winders that can give out. And people go, oh, I don't want a winder that's going to give out on me. It's like, do you wind as much yarn as we do in a yarn shop? So umbrella Swift is the more classic. You'll find this in a lot more places. I think Amish Swifts are picking up steam, but when I first started knitting, they weren't as popular. So I'm going to put this, we will wrap that back up.
We have a handmade from Etsy Amish Swift at the shop. It is not.
So I will show it, but it's not one we have for sale.
We have for sale. We
have a version. Go ahead.
Yeah. So because room in my house is tight, I actually like the Amish Swift because it folds, like you can store it that flat.
We'll put that one together in a second, but the basic idea of an Amish Swift, it doesn't clamp, it takes up more room on the table, but it also takes up less room when it's collapsed. So this sits on the table and it has pegs that go into holes, and you can adjust the size of the hole. Like if I put this on, I'm going to put it in my lap to put it on so I can show you all. And then Liz is going to show you how we put that together. Give me 1 second, Liz.
So while you're doing that,
oh, fine.
so even though it might take up more room space wise, you don't have to clamp it to anything. So if I'm sitting on my bed, I can put it on my bed with me. If I'm sitting in the living room, I can put it on an ottoman or on the floor and have it anywhere I need to instead of clamped to something.
So same concept, it turns, right? And there are other holes here that I can pull out, or I can pull it back in if this band is a different size. Again, this one that we use in the shop was handmade. It was closer to $100. The one that we sell in the shop is 50 something, right? 58. So, because prices on everything are going up. It was less than 50 when I started the shop. It's all wooden pieces, and it's a little smaller than this one, but it's just, if here, let's hold up all the pieces for a second. Just to show.
Okay.
Like it all fit in that little box. That's it. And I mean, I think the Amish name, whether it really was someone Amish who came up with it or just the idea of simplicity, right? So those two pieces cross. There are, this one's from Chowgu. We really like this company for like, it's mid-range for both, like it's decent quality. It's not super expensive. This comes with, it's like, where's the short straw? No, this comes with 4 long posts and 1 short one, and the short one is the one that holds it all together. So Liz is already like, she's crossed the top and she's crossed the bottom, and sometimes it fits together better than others, but we put it in the feet, and then we see like this one's actually, sometimes when they come, they're machined pretty tightly, but see, there we go, we can put that in. So now it's ready to spin. And again, one goes in each arm there and you can arrange it. We tend to put the yarn on and then adjust it out as we need to. So, but you saw how these were in the other one, hopefully, but that's the one we sell. This is our favorite, and it's the least expensive of the ones we sell too. So
if you are looking to buy a Swift or a winder.
Yeah, go ahead.
Get a Swift.
We haven't talked about winders yet, but so we'll come back and explain why. But yes, if you're looking to take twists of yarn and get them into a knittable fashion, and you can't afford both, we're about to switch over and talk about winders now. What Liz is saying is, instead of getting just the winder, it does make things look cool, but instead of getting just the winder, get the Swift. You can put the yarn on your Swift and handball off of that.
If you have just the winder, it's going to be interesting trying to wind a twist
then
of yarn.
You have to find a way to stabilize that skein, that twist that's now a big band. And if the winder is the whole point of the winder, here's one. The whole point of the winder is to make things go faster. And faster when you're trying to stabilize a band of yarn around your legs or around a chair or something isn't necessarily a good thing. We do have a knitter who has done this really cool thing where she found a really big lampshade that she loosened the top of, and she was able to drape it over that, and that spun for her. That's awesome. If you have a thing that will spin and take care of that, that's fantastic. But if you only have money for one of these things, we really do recommend getting the Swift rather than the winder. But people know about the winder. Now the winder will work by itself if you're trying to take a ball, something like that, and turn it into, because what a winder does, I've got the things that I wound up for my project here. a winder takes it, it toggles back and forth as it's spinning, and it will take your either a ball like that or a twist if it's on the Swift and turn it into what we call a cake, which is like a ball with a flat top and bottom, and different winders will give you different looks, but you'll have the ability to go from the outside or pull from the inside if you haven't lost the inside in the course of winding it. And then it can just sit on the table and you pull from it. Like this one actually I have worked with, and I pulled out the center, so I can just pull from the center and have it sit there, which is kind of great. This a plastic one. The one I have at home is called a Royal Winder, and it is a Japanese company. It was the standard all around the world for plastic winders, and they no longer are in business. And they stopped being in business before I even opened the shop. But all different Stanwood, which we don't carry, Knitter's Pride, Lacey's, which we don't have in stock right now. They all have their own version of this winder, and this is the most cost effective. It really is just fine. You can find super fancy handmade winders. Oh, this one's not open. I'm not necessarily going to open it. I'm sorry, guys. But if you take a look at the picture, this one's harder to get open than the other ones. If you take a look at the picture, it clamps onto the table. You feed the yarn in here and you latch it in the top. We can show you on our fancier one. It has the same mechanics, but it clamps right here. It doesn't take up super amount of space. And you just crank it and it goes, and you get a little nice guy like this. And I have my Royal Winder. I've had it for 20 years. It clicks sometimes if it catches on stuff, but it has not broken yet. These, I mean, it's plastic parts. It will wear out. But if you don't wind a ton of yarn, this can be the way to go. We wouldn't use it here in the shop because we would break it really quickly because we wind too much yarn.
About 100 balls a month sometimes. So
the one we use, one that's kind of more, it's also by Knitter's Pride. Like I said, Stanwood has one like this. It has one that has two metal gauges on it, and I don't know how to use those as effectively, but it'll do kind of the same thing. It's a little more expensive. The one that does the fancier balls like this is also by Knitter's Pride. Like even Likey makes some fancier winders now. We don't carry them in the shop because we only have so much space. But I'm gonna see if I can gently tilt the camera and show you ours that is attached to the table. Takes up more space. This one, this one's $48. And price might have gone up. Like next time we order these, they might be more. They're in the $50 range. You can find them for $30 or less. The less expensive a plastic winder is, you will be paying for what you get. It may start giving out at some point. So the plastic parts in it might not hold up as well, because in order to make it more affordable, they've probably used cheaper products to make it. There's no way around that.
All of it, goes into usage too. So,
and I'm gonna let you, Liz, since you're near the microphone, talk about this more.
So there's our winder, my winder.
Yeah. Liz is the one who winds all the yarn.
I do. I wind all the yarn, even though I'm not right-handed, or I'm not left-handed. It's set up left-handed. That's where we wind the yarn onto.
This is I'm gonna try to speak up and hopefully the mic is catching me. You can Liz is moving the mic. This is very much like the plastic winder stuff right here. It's tilted at an angle. It's got a shaft with a notch in the top, and it's got a feeder for the yarn. Now, the smaller plastic one, you can just hand crank right here. This has a band which you can replace as it gives out to get more life out of your winder. That if I don't catch it on my finger like that. So when I put the thing on, there you go. But see, I didn't put it on right because it caught on my finger. This is how this guy works. And these hold up for how much yarn, Liz?
They'll hold up to a 200 or 300 gram bowl.
And let me see. We're not going to show you the Swift and the winder together because we just don't have the setup for that right now. But say I wanted to make this look prettier. I'm going to put it in here. And usually, depending on how thick it is, we fold it over once or more if it's really thin, pop it into that spot here, which is very much like how you use the plastic one. We like, go ahead, Liz, talk about like
So
this.
when you're winding, like the metal, use it as a guide instead of a tension holder. I always hold the yarn when it's going through just to give it some more tension.
And
Not a whole lot, just a
and
little.
what, so yeah, so I'm holding it off here a little bit. What
Yeah.
else do you do? You get it started?
I
and
get
then-
it started, and then there's a sweet spot on all winders that you kind of have to find. Every winder is different, even if
with-
it's the same brand.
Even with the plastic one.
Yep.
And yeah, if you get a replacement one, so move it down a little bit. Like I just moved it up, but I might have to move it down again more, and it'll settle in. It'll wind well if it's in the right spot.
Yep. If it's not found its sweet spot, you might get a wonky shaped ball.
So I'm just rewinding this up. Now, if we had the Swift over there, that Swift would be spinning as we feed it over here. Don't have time to set all of that
No.
up. And of course I'm winding black, but that's the one I could find. I'm going to untangle this a little bit. See if I can get the whole thing in.
You're so close. So close.
So then we have the outside, we might tuck in somewhere so that it doesn't start to unravel. And if this hasn't come out, we've got a center pole now.
It's
And
where
doesn't
I
always
wrap
have-
your ball band if I'm winding your yarn.
Yep, so you can pull that out and use it. This, with the fancy colors, sells at our shop for about $150. We have one that doesn't have the fancy colors that, I forget if we have that set up on all around or just pointed. Yeah,
I don't know.
we have one without fancy colors, but this whole thing clamps onto the table here. We have another one that doesn't have the fancy colors. That's closer to 100, 110. So it's more expensive and it takes up more space and it needs to be clamped down. Both winders that we have need to be clamped down. I'm going to come back over. Okay.
There are, you're going to want to tilt it down. There you go. There are electric winders that you have seen yarn have to be cut out of.
Yeah, and usually the yarn shops are the ones who have those. I have no idea how expensive those are. But if you were going to go with the high end of what we carry, and we don't carry the fanciest stuff out there, the higher end of what we carry would be the $150 winder and like the $70 or $80 Swift. So we're looking at $230 or so dollars. What I think will still be perfectly serviceable for someone at home is our plastic winder, which is around 50. And that one is more than
60.
50, but it's close. It's running closer to 60. So, but that's still only putting you at $110 or so. And if you have the budget for one item, I really would go with, like, say, the Amish Swift. It takes up very little space when it's collapsed. You can handball off of it. I know it takes longer, but you can handball off of it, that kind of thing. So for our shop, you're going to spend, 100 to, if you want to go fancy, 200. But I say if it's your first one, it depends on, like, again, you're going to get what you pay for. So the fancier winder is going to last you longer. But I am very conscious of people, if you're on a budget, I would just say if you go lower than $50 for a plastic winder, no, it might not last you as long. We have a knitter who they used to make a winder, one of these where you could actually hold it in your hand with a handle instead of on cranking it clamped to the table. But I don't know if they make it with that accessory anymore. I think when she bought her most recent replacement, it didn't come with that because she liked to hold it and crank it. But this should last you for a little while. We can't guarantee it. We can't guarantee based on how rough or gentle you are with your winder how long it will last. If it makes clacking noises as you're like if the tension gets really tight between the two and you keep forcing it, it will break. And the manufacturer and us, we might say, I'm sorry, we can't help you with that. So, but sometimes the companies are really responsive if there are issues with them.
I will say, with especially the little plastic ones, the top twists on and off.
And I didn't open this up to show you.
There is a specific direction that you need to wind. Otherwise,
I'm pretty
you'll
sure
have
it's clockwise. Yeah, it's meant so you can take off that center spindle and either keep the yarn on it, or in case there are messes that happen. But if you wind counterclockwise, it will crank that if it gets caught and pop it off. So there's ways to make sure that it goes in the right direction and works for you. So
when you had your royal winder in the shop, when we were in between winders, there were a couple of times that I had yarn go across the shop, and it was the old shop. So,
yeah, could take an eye out.
Yeah.
So we have to clean all this up and open up the shop, but I hope that was helpful. The brands we carry are Lacey's and LACI and Knitter's Pride
and Chowgu.
And Chowgu, yes. Chowgu, we don't have a winder, but we do have the Swift, and we do really like that. For winders, we have Knitter's Pride and Lacey's. I don't think we have a Lacey's winder in stock at the shop currently, but we do usually carry them. Like I said, Likey came out with versions. They had more assembly required, so I haven't brought them in yet because I feel like we have enough to cover our bases to offer you quality stuff. But if you're interested in one from Likey, who has wonderful wood products, their winder reminded me more of a handmade winder I got from the same guy I got my Swift from. And you got to really eke out the sweet spot on those. But you can always talk with us. We could potentially order one for you if they're in stock with our suppliers. So hope that was helpful. We need to go. We have knit night tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom with the shop phone number
828-877-3550.
There's drop in help today, which will probably be over by the time I post this video. That's no appointment needed, $20. It's every other Thursday. On Saturday in the morning, we are starting off a class on this bag. If you would like to learn to crochet it, it's the Montana bag. Contact the shop. We still have spaces left in the class. And we have an in-person sit and stitch in the afternoon, weather permitting. So a lot of that's weather permitting outside. So we hope you all have a good weekend. We will see you next week. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing or at least giving us a thumbs up on this. Comments, all that kind of stuff to let YouTube know that we are worth paying attention to. So hopefully y'all agree with that. Anyway, we're gonna go set up. So